Daytime with Aston Avery here on Gateway 97.8. Stephen Smith joins me as well. And very short today, Stephen, our next guest is sure to make us happy, I have to say.
Yes, she's even interviewed Madonna, my favourite. So I'm really excited to have her on. It's Impact Coach and our friend Esther Stanhope. How are you?
Hello. Good morning. I'm feeling happy this morning.
And I'm going to introduce you to the Duchess. She said,
"Is that the Duchess?" Yeah. I love that. Hello, Duchess. You're looking very happy this morning.
She makes us all happy.
I couldn't help singing while we were waiting. Happy talky, happy talk. Da, da, da. Talk about things you like to do.
Also has I'm going to wash that man out of your hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Right. Hang on, I don't think the Duchess likes that very much, Aston. You got help.
Well, it's a great musical South Pacific as well, which was another one of them films as well, Stephen, there. But Esther, welcome. Do you think there is a secret formula to feeling happy? Would you like to explain that to our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we've been shut down, locked down. We haven't been allowed to see people. Now we're allowed out, and it's like, ooh, it's a bit scary. And we don't really know what it's like to be in the same room with people. I've only just started speaking in public again in front of large crowds, and it's overwhelming. I think the secret to being happy is it's about really embracing what you love. And moving towards what you love and the things that you really enjoy doing, and not being mean to yourself and overworking and trying to get things done all the time and trying to do your to-do list. It's about actually part of the to-do list should be and do something that makes you happy. You know, and I know you've been talking about time for yourself today as well.
So true. Our worst critics are ourselves.
Yes, we make ourselves terribly unhappy. It's quite hard though. It's actually quite hard work to be happy, don't you think?
Some of mine, this is not criticizing ladies. Some of my girlfriends can spend 3 hours getting ready to go out, changing back, forth, and late all the time. And I look to myself and say, how can this be enjoyable? Because they're criticizing themselves and they look perfect to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can make ourselves unhappy about things that really aren't that important. I think when you have something in your life that's made you kind of rethink your life a little bit, I think you probably allow yourself to be happy. So I had a bit of a health scare a few years back, and I had a mild heart attack, and it made me realize I haven't finished my life yet. Hang on a minute. What am I doing? Why am I wasting my time on things that are making me miserable? This is ridiculous. And actually out of that, I wrote my book because I thought I've got to write a book now. That's it. I've got to write a book. People were quite shocked. They say, how are you? How are you feeling? And I didn't feel that bad. And, I'm completely healthy now with a spring in my step. But I remember people saying, oh, so what are you going to do? You're going to slow down and take life easy. And I thought, I'm writing a book. I've got loads of things to do, and I want to do it with happiness in mind as well.
I have to ask you before we move on to the question. Now, you just mentioned your health there. Is it in the back of your mind? Do you worry that you're going to take ill again, or how have you dealt with that?
So it was a very, very mild heart attack. My dad died of a heart attack when I was young. So, I thought that the thought of even the word heart attack used to make me go, oh, death, it's the most awful thing that can happen, but it was relatively mild, and I've got a stent now. I take pills every day, and I also walk about 20,000 steps a day.
That's wonderful.
And I gave up smoking. I'm not the most healthy vegan you can ever meet. However, I do keep myself relatively fit, and I also know a lot of anything to do with heart is to do with stress, and that's talking about happiness. One of my kind of missions in life, and one of my, as much as I enjoy speaking in public, writing, I've got my book out and everything, I also am very mindful of the fact that I don't want to be stressed anymore. And so I try and make each day, I try and look at my diary and manage myself and my stress levels on a daily basis. And I do put in times for, breathing time. I do a little breathing exercise. I do a little bit of yoga in the morning. I do a bit of...
But one of the things, I know you help with is, I do a lot of public speaking and etc. But there's times when, I'm getting ready and a panic comes on. How do you cope? How do you tell people to cope with things like that, public speaking or coming on the radio or something?
Absolutely. And I was speaking to a client of mine yesterday. She's so worried about public speaking. She's got a panel coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She's got sleepless nights, going to the toilet a lot. I used to feel like that because I used to get very, very nervous before speaking in public. And that's why I wrote my book. In fact, I don't know whether I've got one here. Look, there you go. I wrote that, Goodbye Glossophobia, Banish Your Fear of Public Speaking.
Yeah,
it's really for people that think that it's awful and they get so stressed and then they dread it. What I say is I used to feel like that. I used to get really stressed and shake and sweat, forget my lines. I had fight, flight, or freeze. My brain would just go to mush. I'd forget everything. And all I can say is it's not, feeling the fear. And it's the cliched Susan Jeffers book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Feeling the fear and just diving in there is a good thing. Yeah. At least you know that you're alive when you feel the fear and you step outside your comfort zone.
Shall I say 2 tips for someone that's about to go on stage and give a speech to the work or anything? What would be your 2 tips?
2 tips. One is before you go on, breathe. Out. Breathing out gets rid of cortisol and can really calm you down almost within a few seconds. Just really, really can calm you down. And the other thing is just go for it with a big smile on your face, because when you smile, the zygomatic major nerves go up and your brain goes ding. I'm happy. I'm okay. So even if you're dying inside, you can fake happiness just by smiling.
You must have the same experience, Esther. I've interviewed so many people that do public speaking, and they all say, I've been really nervous. And you think, you didn't look it. They managed to hide it almost.
Absolutely. I've met people who have said they were actually vomiting in the toilet before they went on stage. You think, what? Every single artist gets nervous and they're worried about their reputation. So when you said I'd interviewed a few Hollywood stars as well, and I've interviewed Madonna a long time ago, I've got to say the day I interviewed Madonna, it was the Evita press conference.
Yeah.
And she wasn't happy. She was quite moody that day, and it was terrible because I was such a huge fan. Yeah. And she didn't really enjoy press conferences.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed meeting all those celebrities when I first started out. When I first started out as an entertainment reporter, I used to have to go and shove a microphone in people's faces.
Yeah, they're not always happy about it, is it?
Yeah. At least with your lovely show, you invite your guests on and, we're happy to be here, and they've come to you, and you don't have to go and shove a microphone.
So, Esther, obviously that most people are going to ask, when are you at your happiest here?
When am I at my happiest? I'm at my happiest when I'm not even trying and things just come my way. And maybe I've just walked off stage and it just went so well. People were laughing and clapping and it was brilliant. And then I come home and my kids are happy. Whoa, that makes me really happy when my kids are happy. And it could be something silly like, hey, I really like that curry, Mum. And they're like, that makes me happy. I get happy by the smallest things.
Can you ever come over too happy?
Well, yes. Do you know what? Some people have said, particularly when I'm working with clients, they say, I've been told I'm too happy or I'm too outgoing or I'm too extrovert. Can you be too happy? No, of course you can't. What a load of old toffee.
Oh, indeed. And I have to say, Stephen, you mentioned about stage earlier. I can relate to what's being said about the stage because I do some of that myself, perform on stage, of course. But probably the most nerve-wracking was doing a TV show last year, which
Oh yes, and did you get really nervous?
I ask you.
Yeah, because that was the thing, because you don't know how many people will be watching after. It's like, oh, how many people are going to be watching afterwards when it gets aired? So it's like,
and the thing is, though, you go live on air every day, so you're used to live. I mean, because when I worked at the BBC, you know, I think I clocked up 12,500 hours of live broadcasting, and I've worked in television and radio. I suppose when you're in your studio and you know that knob does that fader does that, press for sport, the news is coming up, you kind of have a process and you get into a comfort zone, right? But you're still live on air. I mean, the first time you went live on air, how did you feel?
That was probably most nerve-wracking, the very first show. And this is about 7 years ago, I'd say.
Yeah.
Try and think, don't muck up. Get it right. That's what you have to feel. But now there, Esther, when you're going for an interview and you're nervous and want to be serious, but also shows that you're fun to work with, that is on the show is the anxiety and glistening sweat on the face there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when people do get very nervous in a job interview, and they suddenly, you know, the one thing that goes when you're nervous, and the downside of being nervous is, you know, the sweat and, you know, the kind of shaking. The other thing that goes quite often is your sense of humor. So it's quite difficult to bring your sense of humor in the room. Sometimes when I'm talking to people that ask me about being nervous in a job interview, I say, you know, when you walk in the room for your job interview, don't leave yourself outside. Like, okay, bye, fun version of me. Bye. I'll come and meet you out afterwards. And they walk in, they're like, and yes, and I have got a lot of experience in this topic. You know, and it's like, what? That's not you. So it's quite difficult, isn't it, to bring the fun you into the job interview. My advice is be yourself if you can. And the more relaxed you can be, the more that your sense of humor will come back into your body. It won't leave you. And don't worry about having a sense of humor.
You know what you just said there? People put on different voices sometimes. You think, where's that voice come from? I've never heard that voice before. Or they're mimicking the person interviewing them.
Or people have a phone voice, don't they? Yeah. Hello, how can I help you? Like suddenly, what, you're not the Queen? Actually, that makes me laugh.
I have a friend that does that in restaurants. We go, hello. And I think, who's this person with me?
It's funny. I love the word happy. I always tell my daughter when we're watching did you ever watch The Crown? The Crown on Netflix, right? And if you watch it, listen to the way they say, they always talk about being happy. Happy. It's not making me happy. Are you happy today? How happy are you? And they've all got a slightly different way of saying it. So have a think about that. Can you be happy today?
Can you imagine a happy night out with Princess Margaret? It must have been great fun.
She was very, very unhappy in her relationships.
I wonder what you've done with your life, and how would you tell people to become a coach if they want to become a coach like you?
I mean, what I've done is I followed what makes me happy. Yeah. I followed what I'm good at and what I've enjoyed doing in my life. And all of my life, even as a producer at the BBC and working in television and interviewing people and stars and creating shows and stuff, in my life, I've always helped people to be confident. I've always crafted stories and helped people to feel that they can really be the best version of themselves. And so that was a natural progression. I didn't even know what being a coach was. And it's not necessarily coaching that I do. It's about personal impact. It's about communicating and helping people to feel that they can let themselves go, give themselves permission to be themselves. And now I speak a lot all over the world. So I've kind of become, rather than just coaching people now, I'm speaking, but I'm coaching as well at the same time, I suppose. I call it speeching, like being a teacher and a speaker at the same time. But it's kind of evolved. I mean, I would say whatever you want to do in life, whether it's a writer, a coach, a TV host, a YouTube star, a hairdresser, whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it.
Absolutely.
And nowadays there's a platform, isn't there? There's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's different social media platforms. You can actually get your content out there. You can be doing the thing that you love doing without an agent or without a producer. You can produce yourself. So when young kids and my clients say, "Oh, Mike, can you speak to my daughter or my son? They really want to get into the media, or they really want to become a holistic coach or a yoga teacher or whatever, my answer is great. Do it. Just do it. Get out there and start doing it. If you want to be a filmmaker, go and make a film. You can make a film on an iPhone. You need a half decent camera. In fact, you don't even need a camera. You can still make a film without any equipment. Yeah. So just go ahead and do it, because if you do it badly, great, learn from it.
Yeah, love. And I think it's important that all these things require hard work as well. You know, go for it, but then put in the training. We had a really interesting guest on last month.
Yeah,
he was incredibly shy and had depression, and he went on a stand-up comedy course.
Yes,
and it kind of like changed his life, didn't it? It was really interesting.
Yeah, and I mean that's another example of feeling the fear and doing it anyway. He felt the fear, he dived in, he said, you know what, this is so out of my comfort zone. Where do I even start with my nerves and my comfort? I'm just going to dive into that swimming pool and do it. And that really is a great message. That's exactly what your guest did. He said, you know, I'm just going to dive in and do it. So don't hold yourself back. And again, you know, I think because I did a couple of years ago say, I haven't finished my life yet. There's a few things I want to do.
Of course,
why wait? Just do it.
So what have you got coming up for the rest of the year? You mentioned traveling and everything. What
Actually, I've just launched a new online confidence coaching club called the 80% Perfect Club, and that's about to launch officially at Soho House in London. So you're invited. But that's an online confidence coaching program where you get your monthly masterclasses and you've got your Monday missions, and it's little tweaks and nudges and reminders that you don't have to be perfect. You do have to get yourself out there to succeed in business and in life and in your career. You need to put yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, be more visible, try and build your confidence, and confidence gets built slowly, bit by bit. So when you're talking about being happy, it's about the daily reminders, it's the daily routines and habits that will help you to achieve happiness. You can't just, I'll be happy for an hour, I'll be happy at 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock on Tuesday. And then I won't be happy anymore. You've kind of got to do it every day. You've got to flex your muscles.
We covered the Madonna question. So one more question. For people, you know, I have a friend that has anxiety, right? But she would either self-diagnose herself with spinal cancer than use the word anxiety. You know, no, definitely doesn't have anxiety. She's been diagnosed 3 times with anxiety. She tells me about it. She goes, just do what we're talking about. How do you help someone like that genuinely has anxiety, but is in denial?
I think it's really about them. They've got to discover it for themselves. You can't really help somebody unless they can accept that they have anxiety themselves. And the only way really to do that is to be a really good listener. And you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can really only overcome any kind of issue like that if you know you've got the issue.
I suppose, yes.
So I think also meeting other people with similar issues, having somebody who's non-judgmental to talk to about it is really helpful. There's nothing really you can do as an outside party, I'm afraid. And also unsolicited advice isn't a good idea.
Oh, I know.
Only give advice if it's asked for. That's I've learned because I've tried and failed on that one.
Esther, for our listeners who want to get in touch and want to speak to you personally, is there anywhere our listeners can find out all the information and get in touch to speak with you?
Absolutely. If you go to my website, estherstanhope.com, not .com, estherstanhope.com. Esther is spelled ESTHER, like Esther Ranson, estherstanhope.com. And you've got a contact form there. There's resources, there's my club that you can join, there's my book, audio book, there's all kinds of stuff, but there's also a contact form. Brilliant. So I love to hear from you. And please, if you've got any questions about public speaking or anything like that, I'd be really happy to give you some tips.
You have made us very happy today.
Yeah. I'm so happy. And my favorite film to make me happy is Madagascar. You gotta move it. I wanna move it. You gotta move it.
Move
it. Love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, she's great.